Welcome to Become a Provider, a weekly podcast inspiring leaders and parents to be servant leaders and providers. I'm Justin Thomas, a business consultant, health coach, CEO, and author. Together, we'll explore servant leadership through interviews with leaders that I respect. Plus, I will share lessons from my life and career trying to model the ultimate provider, Jesus. Whether you're an executive, community leader, parent, or simply want to make a positive difference, this podcast is for you. Let's begin. Hey friends, welcome back to the Become a Provider show. This is one of my solo episodes. So here we go. I do have a PDF if you want. If you're listening to this on the podcast only version, go ahead and look at the show notes. You should see a link to the PDF with some pictures and images and some of my quotes that I want to share about this particular theme of how I am trying to be a healthy provider. As you may recall, I first launched this series, my solo series, with 5 pillars in mind of what does it mean to be a healthy provider and what I thought might be interesting to reflect on in my life to encourage you as you are trying to bless and protect yourself and others in a way that's sustainable, you don't burn out, and that models Jesus. I had some images here. If you look on the PDF, my 5 pillars of the series included a family section, an exercise section, a faith one, a career update, and then just my general goals in life. So as a quick recap, this series started with episode 132. This was some family strategies I reflected on, family summits that Amy and I have had over the years. Then episode 134 was around the top health tips that I have gained over the last several years. And 136 was more about my faith and some books and devotionals that I go back to again and again. And actually, I'm going to reference one of those during today's conversation. And I had some career insights, episode 138. Then today, this is 142, the Healthy Provider Goals and Updates. A very different update than I was expecting to share, but hopefully some good lessons for us all. So let's get into this 5th pillar of being a healthy provider, of just general goals and how I'm trying to go after big, hairy, audacious goals in my life. And so what that looks like is ultra running. I had signed up for the Yeti 100. This is an endurance event, a 100-mile trail race in Damascus, Virginia, the Abington area, Southwest Virginia. And you can see the image here going from White Top to Abington, the full Creeper Trail 3 times. So this was a big goal that I had that I wanted to share with you all. And this actually starts in 2023. So just to go back to set the stage, I completed my first 100-mile race in March of 2023, and then my body started to feel good and I wanted to give it another shot. And so in May of 23, I contacted the Yeti team because this is in my wife's hometown where she grew up, and I thought, what a great adventure. So I contact them in May, and they say, oh man, you were way late, Justin. This is a super popular race. Hundreds of people sign up for it. This is a Western States qualifying race, and there's just no spot for you. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not used to that. But then in June of 2023, they reached back out to me and they say, hey, we've got an open spot available for you. And the race was scheduled to be September 29th. September 21st, I'm working from my home as I normally do. No big deal. I turn the corner, leaving my bathroom, and what happens but my little toe catches the door frame and I stub it really good. I decide I'm not going to go for my morning run. I work all day. I then stand up after a long day of work, and I realize that toe is really hurting. So I contact my direct primary care provider. They help facilitate an x-ray. I have a Zoom meeting with them later that same day, and they confirm a broken toe. So, needless to say, the 2023 race went on without me. And my family and I still went up to visit my in-laws and actually rode the bike that you see on this slide up and down the Creeper Trail. And that was my 2023 version of the race. Another year goes by, 2024. Earlier this year in March, once again, I do the Mountain to Sea race, complete that, and a couple months go by. My body starts feeling good. I start doing long runs again. I'm like, hey, How about that Yeti 100? I didn't learn my first time that this is a super popular race, but in June of 2024, I emailed to request a spot. I'd been doing long runs. It was a habit, and I thought, let me take advantage of this habit and see if I can get into this ultra race. And sure enough, once again, they find me a spot. August 15th, I get the invite, super excited. I asked my girls, should I do this race? It was a tie vote. My oldest daughter says yes. My youngest daughter says no because my toenail from the March 100-mile ultra race has still not grown back, she said. But I said I'd be okay. And then my wife was willing to go along for the ride. So I signed up for the race August. And then Wednesday, September 27th, we started getting some updates with it because of the upcoming weather. And so the race had been scheduled for September 27th, but then on Wednesday, September 25th, we get an email announcing that the course has changed. Rather than the full Creeper Trail going from White Top Community down to Abington, they decide with the rain coming in that Friday morning, we're going to avoid the mountain and do a shorter trail. I sent out an email to my crew and we had a meeting Wednesday night. And this is amazing. So within the ultra racing community, there's an opportunity for you to bring some friends and they can support you in a number of ways. I've been blessed tremendously to have friends that are very supportive of me. From the March ultra race that I did, a lot of friends and family came out to that. And then for this one, it's further away, about 3.5, 4 hours away. But I still had 3 guys that volunteered to come crew me and to support me at the aid stations and even to run with me with the designated areas. So we have a Zoom call Wednesday night, go over the details, talk about the changes with the courses, and then I start to pack up. And so what does that look like? Well, the next image that I'll share with you is I lay out all of my gear. So I've got food, I've got the equipment that I'll need with a headlamp and some other items that I think I might need during this 100-mile race. You're just trying to pack and prepare and be ready to go 24-ish hours to complete this race. And so I lay all this out, and then I prepared my drop bags. And so these big orange bags were the bags that I had prepared ready to go, and they would be dropped off at the aid stations. So I'd have my fuel and equipment and just whatever I might need, extra change of clothes and shoes, ready for the race. My family and I leave on Thursday, and we head up to get ready for the Yeti 100. There are more changes in store on Thursday, so the day after my crew meeting. I get an email from the race director saying that the race is no longer going to be on Friday, it will be on Saturday. And so then on Thursday, we drive up there, as I said, get to my in-laws, and then on Friday, we get another email at 12:15 saying the race is confirmed. We are diligently cleaning up the Creeper Trail, and we look forward to a beautiful day on Saturday. So around 1 o'clock, I lace up my shoes for my final warm-up run, and I go out, stretch the legs a little bit. It's windy outside, but it's a beautiful day. And I get back, change, shower, and I look at my phone, and it says Yeti 100 final update. And it's at 2:07, and the race has been canceled. That was unexpected because I'm in the zone for the race, and I'm in my bubble of just preparing and mentally getting ready for this big goal. And I'm not really as aware as I should have been of what's going on in the area. And so I wanted to read you the excerpt that the race team sent to the runners like myself. And this helps put things into perspective. Quote, I just spoke with Jason, the race director, and he is in a meeting with the city of Abington. They just received footage of homes being washed away in Damascus with swift water recovery on the scene. They are actively engaged in water rescue throughout the town of Damascus. We understand it looks like a perfect day here and for tomorrow, but mass destruction is happening along the Creeper Trail. Our neighbors, volunteers, and friends need our help right now. We are very sorry and tried everything in our capacity to keep this race going. We have made the decision to cancel the event and turn our resources to help our friends and neighbors in Damascus. And so for those watching video, or if you have the PDF, you can look at this slide and you can see the town of Damascus part of the town is flooded. You can see another image where homes have been turned over, cars turned over. And so just the hurricane that came in and the tropical storm that ensued, the water rushing down from the mountain, it just hit this town and the valleys really hard. 50, 60 homes destroyed. And this is just in the town of Damascus, let alone all the destruction in other states as well. So this is the town right next to the Creeper Trail, just within 15 minutes of where we were staying. Fortunately, my wife's family is all safe and their homes are okay, but this is what was going on. And so just a wide range of emotions and planning. And so I thought I would share that in this podcast because part of this podcast is being a healthy provider. I want to set big, ambitious goals for myself. Doing ultra racing helps keep me healthy. It keeps me focused and energized. And then I was hoping to get a little bit of redemption with this race, having been injured last year and then coming in. I felt really strong. And I told my girls that when I got the news of the race being canceled, the one emotion that I didn't have was relief. Like, I wasn't relieved that it was canceled as if I wasn't prepared for it. I was actually looking forward to it. I knew it was going to be very difficult. And at the same time, I really wanted to perform my best on this race and to see how I would do and how I would fare. But obviously, it was just not meant to be. What have I learned from this? Here's one thing that has stood out to me. And I said I was going to reference one of my favorite devotionals during this podcast. This comes from The Songs of Jesus, a book by Timothy Keller, where he provides a devotional each day highlighting a psalm. And this comes from Psalm 106, and it says, "We have sinned, even as our ancestors did. We have done wrong and acted wickedly. When our ancestors were in Egypt, they gave no thought to your miracles. They did not remember your many kindnesses, and they rebelled by the sea, the Red Sea." He then goes on to provide a commentary about this, and he labels it the sin of ingratitude. And I just want to read the whole thing here. He's talking about Psalm 106, as I mentioned, this section, verse 6 through 12, and here's Tim Keller's commentary about this. He says, "The sin of ingratitude. This psalm is about ingratitude. Quote, they did not remember your many kindnesses, end quote. It is the root of all human sin. They neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him. That may not at first sound serious, but consider the crime of plagiarism. It is both theft and a lie. It robs others of their due and creates the illusion that you are more able than you are. Sin is cosmic ingratitude. It gives you the delusion that you have the ability to conduct and hold your life together. Actually, every day that your heart keeps pumping, your country is not invaded, and your brain keeps functioning is wholly an undeserved gift of God. We ought to live simple, normal, uneventful days full of amazed, thankful joy. So this just stood out to me because on the one hand, I was very disappointed about the race being canceled and feeling like it was an adventure that I was primed for and was taken away. And the last couple of days processing it and then reading this devotional, just the sin of ingratitude was just a perfect way of identifying what was in my heart of being like the Israelites. God has shown himself so many times to the Israelites, and they choose, instead of being grateful, to not be, to have the sin of ingratitude. And so with everything going on, with a lot more serious issues than just an adventure that was not meant to be, this psalm and this devotional was so timely from Tim Keller. The sin of ingratitude. So I want to live a grateful life. I want to be a healthy provider. And part of that is when things don't go the right way, to continue to be grateful to the Lord. And so here's the prayer that I want to offer that Tim Keller wrote in the devotional, just to tie all this together. Lord, I thank you for my routine mercies. I thank you for sustaining my life daily, for being endlessly patient with me, for shielding me from so many consequences of my foolish behavior, for the ways you have walked with me in trials, and for all of my answered prayers. Amen. That is today's podcast. Sometimes our goals don't work out the way that we think we are going to have them. And it exposes a little bit of the sin of ingratitude, ungratefulness. And so I'm trying to live a very grateful life, regardless of what happens with goals I have, and to get back out there. And so to live a grateful life, I think that's being a healthy provider. That's what I'm learning today. Fun little update to share is that I do have my next race lined up. It's not going to be a 100-miler, but this upcoming weekend, a friend was very generous and gifted me a ticket to the Hillsborough Half Marathon, which is going to be this upcoming weekend. So this is actually going to be a really fun challenge. My training was not to run 13 miles in a quick way. It was to run 100 miles, probably in a slow and steady way. So that is my next adventure to share with you. My encouragement to myself and to you is to continue to try to bless and protect in a way that Jesus shows us and models for us. And I'm reminded again and again how imperfect I am at that. But I'm thankful to have good people in my life. I'm thankful to have a good God in my life and to have a good devotional to remind me to have a grateful heart. So with that said, I hope you've enjoyed this Healthy Provider series, and I'll keep doing these solo episodes with sharing lessons that I learn, and I hope you enjoy this. So we'll see you next time on the Become a Provider show with a guest on our next one. Cheers. Thank you for listening to the Become a Provider show. If you've enjoyed today's episode and want to continue your journey in servant leadership, I invite you to sign up for my free weekly newsletter, Always Provide. Head over to alwaysprovide.org to subscribe. Each week you'll receive insights, inspiration, and practical tips to help you grow as a servant leader and provider in all areas of your life. Before we wrap up, I'd like to remind you that this podcast is a ministry of the C.L. Thomas Fellowship, a nonprofit organization created to honor my late father, an exemplary provider. The fellowship is dedicated to providing free resources that inspire parents and leaders to emulate Jesus as a servant leader and provider. Your support helps continue this important work. If you found value in today's episode, please consider sharing it with a friend or leaving us a review on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, remember, we're all called to be providers. Let's make a positive difference by serving others. Keep blessing and protecting.